Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today, at the FEC, we got approval of a contract for the procurement of 20 number transformer turns ratio analyzers awarded to Segulu Stemback Global Services Limited in the sum of 564,231,854 naira 8 kobo, with 75% VAT, delivery period of 4 months. The transformer turns ratio analyzers is a state-of-the-art testing device for reliable testing and diagnosing of power transformers, which before now the device being used is an old device. So this is a new technology which is more reliable. So it is going to be used by the TCN in testing the transformers across the country to know the reliability and to also detect if there are any fault. So it has been approved. And this is the only memo that I brought to council. Thank you very much.
Gentlemen, first of all, I have an understanding with the head of service to convey her apologies because she's supposed to be here, but she had to rush off for a meeting. The head of service of the Federation presented a memo to council on group life assurance cover for the period 2022 to 2023. This is an insurance cover that is covering all government officials in government, all government agencies, paramilitary and intelligence agencies. In the total sum of council approved the total sum of 9.24 billion naira for the insurance cover for 2022 to 2023. As you know, the insurance will take effect from the date of payment. And in Nigeria, by our laws, the insurance cover is 30% of the annual emoluments of any staff of government that is deceased. And this cover is passed to the, paid by the insurance company to the beneficiaries of the deceased staff. So that's from the head of service. The Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning presented a number of memos today. The first one I'd like to present to you is the memo we presented on the draft bill for the draft whistleblower bill for 2022. This memo has been reviewed by council and approved with a provision to ensure alignment with the Evidence Act. The purpose of the whistleblower bill, operationalizing and putting in place a bill, is to strengthen the fight against corruption, to also enable protection for whistleblowers that provide information for use by government. As you know, since 2016, the council had approved the setting up of the Presidential Initiative on Continuous Audit, PICA. PICA has been working in partnership with EFCC, ICPC, DSS, NFIU, as well as the Office of the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation. We noticed that the whistleblower policy response has lost momentum, and we embarked on engagements in the 6 geopolitical zones. One of the main outcomes that we found is that people are concerned about their safety as a result of providing the information. So this bill is critical to ensure the effectiveness of the intention of the whistleblower policy. The second memo that we presented to Council today is a request for approval of Council for the Finance Bill 2022 that is designed to support the implementation of the 2023 budget. If you recall, at the public presentation of the budget to the National Assembly by His Excellency Mr. President had committed to the Parliament that a 2022 finance bill will be submitted to the Parliament by the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning to support the implementation of the 2023 budget. So we have been working on this bill and have done a lot of consultations. The bill that we presented before Council today has 5 focus areas, including tax equity reforms, climate change and green growth provisions, job creation and economic growth reforms, reforming tax incentives, as well as generating revenue and enhancing tax administration. The purpose of the tax equity reforms is to combat tax evasion and aggressive tax planning practices that some companies operating in Nigeria are involved in, but also enabling the utilization of ICT tools and using international best practice to assess taxpayers' tax on a fair and reasonable basis. The climate change green growth focus is to complement non-physical reforms that are designed to reduce greenhouse emissions, also to facilitate domestic and international investment in climate adaptation as well as mitigation, and also to enhance green growth and create jobs. The third focus area, job creation and economic growth, is designed to complement the ease of doing business and other reforms to support capital formation by the private sector, as well as to foster enabling business environment for micro, small, medium enterprises, for youths, as well as for women-owned businesses. It will also help to enhance the performance of businesses that are in the fintech, the ICT, entertainment, fashion, sports, as well as the arts space. The fourth tax incentive is to phase out antiquated, pioneer, and other tax incentives for mature industries and moving a revised set of incentives to real infant industries. Through economic governance reforms, we've also made proposals to reduce tax expenditure and reduce foregone, which is equivalent to foregone revenue to support the fiscal space. And also based on statistics to gradually transition away from expensive and redundant tax incentives to incentives that are that are rewarding performance. The fifth focus area, revenue generation and tax administration, is to complement the ease of doing business and other reforms that enhance tax administration, as well as to introduce targeted fiscal and non-fiscal reforms to amend, address, and cure defects in existing tax and non-tax laws, as well as regulations. This finance bill is amending a number of fiscal laws, including the Capital Gains Tax, Company Income Tax, Customs Excise Tariff Act, Federal Inland Revenue Service Act, Personal Income Tax, Stamp Duties Act, Tertiary Education Tax, VAT Act, Insurance Act, the Nigerian Police Trust Fund Act, as well as the National Agency for Engineering Act, NASENI, Finance Control Management Act, as well as the Fiscal Responsibility Act. So with this approval from Council, His Excellency, Mr. President, will be conveying to the National Assembly a request for the consideration of this bill. The third paper we presented today at Council is to seek Council, and we got Council's approval for the design, construction, and supply of 9 numbers fast ballistic riverine assault boats, as well as 9 numbers patrol boats with all associated accessories in favor of Mesa Siwa West Africa Limited in the sum of 689,722,681 naira 30 kobo, inclusive of 7.5% VAT for the Nigerian Customs Service. So that's it from my end.
Sorry about that. Good afternoon. So one additional memo that was also presented by the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning was the revised National Social Protection Policy. Council approved the revised National Social Protection Policy 2021 to 2025. This revised National Social Protection Policy is an offshoot of the previous policy that was implemented from 2017 to 2020. The review was carried out in collaboration with all relevant ministries, departments, and agencies at both the federal and state levels, as well as other key stakeholders, including development partners. Recall that when the first policy was in place, there was no ministry like Humanitarian Affairs. Now we have that ministry, and since it's part of the review process to do this every 4 years, the review had to be done. In reviewing this policy, statewide consultations were embarked upon to harness and harvest ideas from all stakeholders. For the efficient and effective coordination of the policy, the National Social Protection Council is to be set up and to be chaired by His Excellency the Vice President, with the Secretariat domiciled in the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, the Ministers of Labor and Employment, and then the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development will serve as Vice Chair of that council. Also, there's going to be a technical working group which will be co-chaired by those two ministers. Thank you.
I think the Honorable Minister of Power also has an update that he has promised every time he's here.
Except, of course, they have a question to ask. Yeah, maybe after.
Okay. All right, so we probably do that after the questions. Do you have any questions? Yes, Business Day.
Thank you. As far as I'm concerned, Malam Musa, I'm just hearing it from you that we are considering selling government share on discourse. What I am aware of is that we have restructured the discourse, and that means we have allowed the lenders to take over, mostly the banks that gave the 60% to the investors to take over back with 60%. So we restructured one in December, and then subsequently, at the middle of this year, we restructured 5, which I have explained to you here. But the banks are only allowed to keep the 60% for 6 months, within which, up to 1 year, within which to sell to a competent utility company, because banks are not in the business of electricity business. So this is what I know as far as I'm concerned. The 60% that is, we have got 6 of the discourse only. So this is where we are. But the first, it was in December, we restructured Abuja Disco. Then in the middle of this year, 5 followed: Kano, Kaduna, Ibadan, Port Harcourt, and Benin. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, the channels. Well, sometimes you need to pay much attention. If we talk about the megawatts, I have explained to you here several times how it is. We have what we always talk about, installed capacity of 13,000 megawatts. This is the capacity that is on grid. 13,000 installed capacity of generation capacity. Now, that is not all the generation capacity that we have in Nigeria. We have what we call, this is on grid, we have what we call the captive. It's also a generation. The captive are those ones in some of the industries, whereby they use it for their own use. Sometimes it will also be embedded. They sell some to the grid, and when they don't need it. And they receive their license from the NAC. The government regulates all of this and allow it to happen. And it is in the country, and it fires the economy. So we have what we call the captive generation. We have the embedded. The embedded is the one that is on and off the grid. We have the off-grid, where we deal with the renewables, solar renewables, which we don't put them on the grid now. So these are all generation capacity within the country. Now, I told you here that we commissioned the KPMG to measure anything above 1 megawatt so that we know what we have as generation capacity within the country. And they have concluded, and the figure is showing over 17,000 megawatts within the country. And if you add those investments we are making in the generation across the country, I've mentioned severally, Kashimbila coming with 40, Zungero coming with 700 megawatts, and so many others. We add it up to the report. That takes it to what you are talking about. It's not even 20. It's around 21, between 21 to 2, if I cannot say the fractions of it. So this is what it means. It's all generation capacity, and this is what we are going to live by the time we are living in 2023. So then you come to transmission capacity, because the transmission lines, the grid has to have its own capacity to be able to carry. And this is the various interventions we are making on the transmission grid, trying to expand with all the various projects around. And we have measured all as it is now, the transmission capacity is around 7 to 8,000 megawatts. Now, with the various interventions going on, the expansion, we're making 330 line expansion and so many other transmission construction going on, we will increase by the time we are leaving 6,000 capacity on the transmission. This is what I said. So going to the cement intervention, which I have promised to give you update, even if you don't ask. I have given update yesterday of the installation that we have started in Lagos, of the first transformers that have arrived. I've told you they've arrived here some time ago. We had delay with the clearance, thanks to the Minister of Finance, my colleague. She has helped in that regard by giving us all the necessary papers. And we have cleared 2. The 4 are in the process of clearance. They are already in the port. The 2 that we have cleared, we have already started installing in Lagos. The one for Abuja is on its way to Abuja. Hopefully by within 2 days, it will arrive Abuja because of the distance, but it is on its way. The Lagos on yesterday, I have unveiled the pictures at the scorecard. I don't know whether some of you were there. I have shown the pictures, how we have cleared them at the port, how we put them on the truck, transported them with all the accessories, about 3 containers of accessories for each transformer, how we have taken them to Aja substation in Lagos, how we have dropped them there. Now the process of installation is going on. And the one for Abuja, I've also shown it. We are coming to install it at Apo, the old Apo substation. So this is the update. And regarding the other offshore and onshore contracts, we are chasing the negotiation. We thought we would be good to go on last week, 8th of December, but unfortunately we were unable to close the financial negotiation on the contract. So we hopefully very soon then we will start moving to them to decide. So this is as far as we have gone on the cement. Yeah. Thank you very much.
To the issues raised by Business Day on the Orosanya rationalization policy, and your observation is that maybe it might not materialize in the life of this administration. Let me just say that there's a presidential committee. In fact, 2 different committees were set up, supervised by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation and the Head of Service. Both committees have finished their work. So one committee was reviewing the report as submitted. Another committee was reviewing new agencies that have come up after the Orosanya report. So there's supposed to be an alignment, and there's a white paper process going on. So we're hopeful that we can implement the recommendations of those committees within the lifetime of this administration. The second question from Mr. Collins Reuters, we have no plans for Euro bond right now for 2023, but if the bond market improves from the low state where it is now, and when I say low, it means high prices for most African countries, then we'll consider it. So we have, when the National Assembly approves a budget, it approves a financing plan. It also approves a component that you can borrow externally and the component that you can borrow internally. So it doesn't say Eurobond or this market or that market. Our external borrowing sources are still very much open at multilateral institutions, the World Bank, the Islamic Development Bank, African Development Bank, and several others where we're able to get concessionary loans that are very low cost and also long tenors. And our focus is on those ones, unless we have no option, because those loan processes are very long, and sometimes they go counter to your need for resources in a particular fiscal year. So that's our first priority. Again, the bond market, the prices are too high now. Most African countries, nobody is going near there now. We hope 2023 will bring about some improvements. I think that's all that was asked of. Okay, the effect of the new Naira notes on the economy. The process is ongoing. As far as we see from the fiscal side, that the plan as laid out is unfolding and is going on very well. And we hope that by the time the due dates come in, that a lot of the old currencies have been mopped up from the system and the new currencies are taken over. We also hope, and it's clear, that there will be increased financial inclusion, because the whole aim is to move financial transactions more to digital transactions rather than physical cash. So far it's looking good and good progress has been made.
Thank you, Mr.